Folks, I've got a subject that I've got to alert you that this is not for the faint of heart. It's not going to be. It's not going to be light. Clarissa Thompson, thanks for taking your time to sit down with me and talk to me. Would you introduce yourself for listeners, please?
Yes, my name is Clarissa Thompson. I am 31 years old, stay-at-home mom, entrepreneur out here in Frisco, Texas.
Clarissa, why is it that? Well, first off, this is we happen to be in the building that we're in is a church.
Yes.
I've never been to this institution before, but you know this building because you frequent it. This is where you worship
Yes.
and practice your religion.
Yes,
But you are at this event really to support. What are you supporting the event itself or supporting the church?
I'm supporting my church. I learned what the event was attending. I was not aware of what this was. Just supporting my church.
Got it.
Yes, sir.
Now, when you arrived to the event, what are your thoughts on the event? Do you know what it is?
I do understand what it is. I am not heavy in politics. I will let you know now. But I am very pro-choice. I do not believe in the mask. I do not believe in the vaccine. I do believe that, if there's a job wanting to make you do it, if there's ways for you to make money at home, I day trade, I invest in cryptocurrency. There's ways for moms to make, money from home. Definitely the awareness that I've learned about is amazing.
Clarissa, you sit down with me. You know who I am. I host a talk show.
Yes, sir.
And one of the things that I do is I expose corruption or wrongdoings.
Yes.
You talked about vaccines, and I'll get into this other more surface issue that you're sitting down with me for. We'll get into that for listeners, but before we get into that, you spoke about mandates, or you spoke about vaccines and masks. Do you think there's elements of corruption in the U.S. government, the Texas government, local county, city? Do you think there's elements of corruption in government as you see it, as you view it?
Absolutely, it's really organized.
What do you mean by that?
I would say they definitely have an agenda. This is not out of the blue. They are trying to do something. We know it's going to happen. It's in the Bible. The Bible says it, and it's just coming to play before our eyes. And some people are woke and some aren't.
Who's the they?
They. The people.
What?
The Americans.
The Americans have an agenda?
Oh, sorry. The government. The top leaders of the country right now.
Joe Biden?
Definitely Joe Biden.
Nancy Pelosi?
Definitely.
Kamala Harris?
Definitely.
You're saying so these people have an agenda?
Yes.
Does that represent the party? Their political party? Like their Democratic Party, as it is called?
I would say so, yes, sir. That they're standing behind.
What is that agenda?
To take control back of the United States. Put us under China's reprimand. That's what I believe.
China's reprimand?
Have China back.
You think these people are working with the Chinese government to do that?
I think so. Before Joe Biden became president, we watched something when the COVID came out. It was a website. It was about a conference that Joe Biden had with, it was a pandemic where they sat down in October of 2018 and they had a discussion about if coronavirus came out, what are we going to do?
Who is this now?
This was top officials of all around the world. CDC was there, the health organizations, top people all around the world. Now, the person that was representing the CDC was from China. And that's
There's the person representing the CDC
it's from China.
American institution, American-based institution, it's from China.
Exactly. So we did a lot of digging, me and my husband, when this came about, just to really open our eyes that it's fake. You know, God is our only, that is our protector. We don't need a mask. We don't need anything. God will make us better.
Okay, so how does the agenda? How does these masks and vaccines? How does this represent their agenda? This agenda. Is it a communist agenda? So is it an agenda to basically take over a government?
Yes.
And insert communism?
Yes. To show that the people will follow the rules and the orders that are being told.
Pause one moment. Marla, would you grab them when they get a chance? So I'd like to have them sit down with me. These two ladies there. They're moving. Okay. All right. So, the Democratic Party, under the leadership of Joe Biden, do you feel that they're working with the Chinese government to take over the U.S. Constitution and the U.S. Republic?
I do. I don't remember what it was, but there was a video that was released showing the Chinese government laughing when Joe Biden was announced president. Everybody laughing, speaking. It was a recording that wasn't supposed to be taken, and you could see that their plan worked. It didn't work when Trump was president, but it worked when Joe Biden was.
Okay, so we're gonna put that on. And it looks like you may not like my business card.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's fine.
It's whirling.
Well, it's it's full. Okay, so what is the story that you would like listeners to know about this?
Well, I am a survivor of domestic violence and sex trafficking. 10 years ago, this year, actually in October, my mother found me lying on the side of the Dallas Hotel room here in Frisco. I was beaten, unconscious, fell 20 feet from the highway. He beat me in the car, tried to run me over. I was gone for months from my family, though, but I will say the day that I had that accident was the day that I prayed to God. I told him I was done. I didn't want to do what I was doing anymore. I was stuck. I felt like I couldn't leave, and my way out was that night in the car. And I came home. My mom got me. Spent a week in the hospital, broken leg, broken ribs, broken cheekbone, face, nose, 2 black eyes. I think the biggest thing, though, was my emotional confidence, my self-confidence, my self-love that I lost, my voice. So for 10 years, I just held this burden in my heart. You know, this story that I was ashamed. I was really ashamed, and I let the shame of what I did. I never thought God would forgive me. Learning that He already has. You know, I am a testimony. It is okay. My story does not define me. It's something that I had to learn, and I want to help other women learn that as well. It's not about what we went through, bad decisions that we did. It's learning that you can overcome it and you can beat it. But I was a young girl working at a Applebee's, and did I know that the kitchen guy in the back was fresh out of prison and him? I did not know. Lured me in with drugs first.
Your age? What was your age?
I was 20 at the time. I was very just, I did not know what I was doing in life. But on top of that, I do know right from wrong. My father's a cop, so in the home, everything, he lured me in with drugs, a couple months of ecstasy, heroin, and coke. I was in a room in Dallas, never really came out, got beat every day.
Wait, you were held hostage?
I was held hostage. There were many times that I
This is
tried to...
This is somebody that you met at your place of work.
At my place of work. He's still walking the streets as of today.
He bound you in chains? How were you held against your will?
I was beaten, so I was unconscious every time I wanted to leave. To where I didn't leave anymore. I still have bumps and bruises in my head. My head is not smooth anymore from how many times I've been hit. It was either working or the threats of what would be done to my family. I had little brothers at the time. He knew where all of my family lived. I believed everything he said. He was from a gang in Kansas City. So
This is happening in Dallas?
this is happening in Frisco, Texas, right here in Frisco. Right here in Frisco. So the awareness that this cannot happen in this town. Yes, our town is great, but these men are anywhere, and you don't know who they are. So
The sexual predator.
the sexual predators. There's men that want. He was a pimp on a mission, and little did I know I wasn't the only one. But I never knew the others. Never knew that there were others until afterwards.
So he held you without will, he drugged you, he physically abused you, he sexually abused you.
Oh yes. And I was to work. I'd go to work. He would sit outside.
Hold on now. Okay, so
He had to work at a club in Dallas. So
what happened with the employment? You were working he was working in what was this place of employment that you met him at?
Applebee's.
You're working at Applebee's as a waitress, and he's a cook.
He was a cook.
And was the relationship based off of a mutual attraction initially?
It was started as a mutual attraction. I fell in love with him at first. And
So
falling
he was
in love
charming, he treated you well. How many times have you gone out with him?
Oh, it was many times.
Many times. You were living separately.
Separately, yeah.
And he wasn't showing any signs of manipulation or any real red flags, perhaps. He wasn't showing any red flags. I've got withdrawal. This guy's no good. Or was he?
There were red flags, and I ignored them.
You ignored the red flags.
He hit me in my stomach one day, and
What was it? A disagreement, or what was
just
that?
he was talking to another girl, and that was our first little thing. He punched me in my stomach.
In front of her?
No, we were alone in a room. Alone together in a room. He was on his phone texting. So that shut me up. However, I realized a little bit of, okay, this ain't right. This is not normal. Definitely not how I saw my dad treat my mom. After that, there was another fight in a car. I had tons of bruises and scratches on me. By this time I came home, I'm 5'1" and I was 110 pounds. And my mom knew something was wrong. She pulled up my sleeves and I had bruises all over my arms and hands. And my parents called the cops. We did press charges. However, him and his sister talked me out of them. She picked me up. She pretty much said, I have enough money in the world to get my brother out of jail, to fight you in court. You don't know what you're talking about. I was manipulated in my mind so much and on so many drugs, I didn't know left from right anymore. I went to the cop, and I know that detective, he knew he shouldn't have let me drop those charges. But I did. After that, I left him alone for a little bit until there was one day in Dallas. I went out with some friends and met him out. And that night, I never came back home. I was in Dallas for months.
So so Clarissa, you had been dating this person, and it got so bad that you filed charges against him. But they coerced you. He and his sister coerced you. You went to the detective. He says drop the charges. You felt like you shouldn't be. The detective felt like you shouldn't be doing it.
Yes.
But you were also at that point, even under this mental manipulation from these people.
Yes.
And again coerced. And so now at this point, you've re-engaged that relationship with this person, and then this is where
he took me in. He grabbed me and took me. I had no clothes, no nothing. It was just what I had on my body. I never left that room. I was stuck on drugs. At this point, he shot up heroin. So that was happening, and I was very unaware of the days. It was about a week of drugs, and then it got to the point where he pretty much told me I was going to work. You're going to get up and you're going to go to work. And I went up and I went. And every day I came home, if I didn't come home with enough money, I was beat. He was always standing outside of
Did
the
he
park
monitor you while you were?
while I was there. I mean, you think you could slip out of a door, but no, he was out there every single time.
What was he having you do? You were standing on a corner. What was going on?
I was working in a club. I was working at Cabaret and Spearmint Rhino downtown, both of those clubs.
Was this man a manager? How was it that you were working in the clubs? Or you simply?
Went and got hired at them. Went and applied for these jobs. Young girl, shouldn't have been there. From there, learned how to prostitute and take these men from here to hotel rooms where he would be in the halls.
He would be.
He would be there. He was always there. Always. There wasn't a time where I was alone. I was never alone. Yeah. Definitely got in my head to where I knew that, what he was telling me, that cops were in on this, so if you think they're trying to help you, they're really going to take you and go rape you somewhere.
The cop would, you
The
said.
cop would. But I believed it.
Your father was a
so,
cop.
my father was a cop. My father was a cop.
Okay, so continue talking about this. This became a cycle for months. You were saying, where you were.
From June of 2001, June of 2000 to, June of 2001 to October, it was September 30th was my last day there, right before my 21st birthday.
How many years has that been?
It's been 10 years this year. My first time telling my story was on October 1st of this year. On my 10-year, I used to call it an anniversary, but it's not an anniversary. But I've learned to have self-love and a higher confidence that I can get my story out without getting emotional. I would think about it all the time, became very depressed, the flashbacks, how I treated my husband in a certain ways, just not having a voice anymore, learning to rewire what he rewired. It's hard, but I'm here, and I've done it.
So, how did you eventually break yourself from this?
The last day at work, I was working at Spearmint Rhino. I remember it. It was 12:30 that day, and that week was a week of the worst meetings I'd had the whole time. I went to work with black eyes. There were pros at covering a black eye in that environment. But I was really starting to come off of the drugs. And one of those nights, I saw him as a junkie for the first time, and I saw that I don't need to be here. And when I told him that, he tried to kill himself, and then told me that it would be me that gets blamed for it if he succeeds. So I had to pull the cord off of his neck. After that, I went to work the next day.
You pulled the cord off his neck.
Because he was trying to choke himself to death. Went to work and I prayed. I told God. It was the first time I had prayed in a long time. Really, probably the first time I've ever prayed. I wanted to come home. I knew at that time, once I was off the drugs and the influence, that's not where I wanted to be. It's not where I belonged. And when I prayed that night, that day was the best day I had working. So, of course, we went out and celebrated after. And he brought me, we actually came out here to Little Elm, to where my parents live, to a bar out here, celebrated there, and on the way leaving from the bar on the highway is where the last meeting happened. So, in the car, we got in an argument. He was trying to pick me up from the bar and take her with us. Because at that point, he was becoming more vocal in what he was doing, and I didn't like it. Because I was still in love with him. As a boyfriend-girlfriend, I didn't want to accept what I was doing and how he was manipulating me to do it. So we got in a fight that night, and it was the worst meeting I had. Left me for dead on the side of the highway where my mom found me.
How did your mother find you?
Well, he called her, said, "Hey, come get your daughter. She's somewhere here on the toll road on the toll road in Lebanon." So I was actually at Cotton Gin in the toll road, and there is a patch of grass. It is the only patch of grass on the toll road. If I fell off anywhere else, it would have been on concrete, and it would have been in the creek, and I'd have been dead. I fell in a 30-foot patch of grass where there's a creek here and street here, and that's where she found me laying. Took her a couple turns. She had the cops, but with her lights, I was wearing a white shirt, she said, and she eventually saw my white shirt laying there on the floor. So my leg was broken. She pulled me into the car. I remember a little bit of the argument. I remember getting out of the car because he pulled me from the driver's side out of the car from the passenger side after hitting me inside. And I thought he was going to run me over. So when he tried, that's when I fell off the highway. After that, when I was laying down, I remember laying down and I was in and out of it. I just have patches of the flashbacks. I remember seeing the lights of her car jumping the curb, and I knew it was her car. And I heard her voice, and I think the relief that I felt at that instance was amazing. Amazing relief. I knew I was saved. I knew I was going home. After that, I woke up in my dad's arms. They tried to take me home and realized I was too broken. So my dad was carrying me back in the car so my mom could take me to the hospital, where I spent a week and my 21st birthday in the hospital.
How long had it been since your mother had seen you?
Since June.
How many months was that?
4 to 5 months. My family had not seen me.
Had your mother filed a missing persons report?
No, they think I ran away willingly. Not really. My dad, he regrets not trying to go and save me.
You're also somewhat emotionally now manipulated because you felt like you were in love with him, even though you're kind of going back and forth in a contradictory state of your own conscience, but
fell in love with the monster. Brought me in a world I was not ready for.
So you're back safe at home, and what was the next course of action? How did your parents want to react to this?
My father, of course, wanted to file charges. I was too scared. I thought he would come after me. I thought he would come back and really try to kill me if I filed charges. And if it wasn't him, I knew his guys, I knew his friends, I knew his sister would. So I did not. I just went back home and started living life like that.
You asked your father not to.
I told him I didn't want to. I didn't want to see his face again. I tried to ignore the situation, what happened, and just sweep it under a rug.
Do you think this man is still in Frisco?
No. I know he's not in Frisco. My dad does keep tabs on his name and where he is. He's been in and out of jail. Someone was brave enough to file charges against him for trying to choke one of his other victims. So you can see the reports of the criminal activity not stopping. But I know he's still out there somewhere.
Have you spoken with any of the victims?
I've never reached out to them now.
Have you spoken to any other victims of your type of trafficking? Have you ever met anyone else that's gone through this?
No, not personally, not in person, certainly.
We've got obviously people that listen to this with all types of different sorts of backgrounds. What would you have done differently? Now that's a difficult question because you've allowed yourself to fall in love with that person. So, but you were seeing red flags, right? You were seeing red flags initially. When you look back at that, what would you have done differently? What you want listeners that'll hear your story, what do you recommend that they do? So, from your perspective, what would you have done differently?
I kept a lot from my parents. At that time, I was living with my mom's friend, and I would say I should have told my parents I wanted to come back home. I wasn't ready to be on my own. I didn't know what I was doing in life. I had no money, just no guidance, really. I was just thrown out to go work and go figure it out.
You willingly left
I was
living
told
with your
to leave.
parents?
I was told to leave. And
Why?
move out. Just rules. Parents' rules.
You were 20 at that time?
20, not coming home on time, just kid stuff. And I wish I would have went back home. If I would have went back home, this wouldn't have happened under my parents' rule.
But also, perhaps your parents could have reacted a little bit differently as well. Right? I
Exactly.
mean, it could have been perhaps a little more accommodating.
Exactly.
So that's a separate issue in itself. What do you know about this industry that you are that you're speaking of and addressing? What do you know about that industry locally? Is that is this something that parents? Is this something that people need to be concerned about? Is this more
Definitely.
prevalent? Is this
Definitely.
more prevalent than people may consider and realize?
It is. I have about 4 friends from high school that are doing the same thing that I did, and they were found out here in Frisco. These men know where these young, pretty girls are, and they will find your daughters anywhere. They're going to lure them in with a relationship first. You're not going to see it. It's not all the time just someone getting snatched on the side of the road. It can start with love. It can start with a mind control. That mind control is very real. And if the girl doesn't have confidence, self-love, and a strong faith, she's going to get ate by it. It's without a doubt. Parents have to teach their daughters more.
Have you contacted the police department in a way of these are things to be looking for? Have you helped police departments in any way help identify some of these sexual predators in the community?
No, sir. I have not acted on that. As much as I do want to go back, though, to Frisco and go speak to that detective face to face. He tried to save me. But I definitely want to get more involved with that, and help them. Because I know the hotels. I know where the hotels are. I know where they're at. I know what a pimp looks like. I know what a girl looks like. I know what it looks like when I see it.
This person that you fell victim to, do you think this person was working for an organization of any kind?
I don't think so. Now, did he learn it through an organization and take it and do it on his own? Possibly. I know he was heavy in a gang in Kansas City.
What was the name? Do you know the name of that?
GD, Gangsters Disciples. GD, it's a big gang in Kansas City, Missouri.
With traffic drugs?
Traffic drugs,
Traffic
women,
women.
everything. That's what he was in jail for in prison, federal prison, for over 5 years, was for his drug case. But yeah, it was definitely learned.
So he was either acting alone or acting in association to an organized crime syndicate like
Yes.
this one that you speak of out of Kansas City. That's a possibility.
Yes, sir.
Clarissa, how did you get yourself to the point of being bold enough to find? You said you're a mother.
Yes.
I'd assume you're happily married. I don't know, but
Yes.
you're married. Did you draw that strength from seeing your children in the future you want to help create and build for them to
Definitely.
bring you to this stage in your life?
Definitely. I didn't want them to have the low self-esteem that I did, to be manipulated. I wasn't taught about, speaking positive and positive thoughts and affirmations and praying every day and really controlling what you let your mind go to. It makes a difference. I was really stuck in my emotions, depressed, overweight, not wanting to live life, and it was because of my past. I didn't know how to get over it. 10 years. When 10 years came, it hit like a ton of bricks, and in that time, we started a company, we started trading and investing, and doing that, my mentors had us doing mindset books and calls, and those books changed my life. Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself by Joe Dispenza really got me to change what I was thinking. Instead of thinking about the nights in the hotel rooms and what happened. Now I can think about, okay, how can I go save the next one? What are the things that I can go do? I had to change the way of the narrative I kept replaying in my head.
What do you recommend for parents that might be listening? What are some of the signs that they need to be looking for within their own parental guidance with their own children? So I'm listening to you, and my consideration is, well, okay, like I already said, your parents could have stepped in as well. I mean, they could have been able to pull back and say, well, my daughter at 20 is not quite ready yet. So there's some things that they could have done. There's some things that you could have done.
Yes.
So it's both sides. But for parents, and you can even address the daughter or son, the child. But go with parents. What do parents need to be? Should they be more sensitive to what the child needs? What do you recommend for parents?
Definitely. If you do not have a relationship with your children about what is going on, you have to do more. And if you feel like looking in their phone or, looking through stuff, you have to get the information to find out what they're going through. I kept so much from my parents. We never talked about anything. So that was the first. You have to talk to your children. You have to start that early so they can even feel the confidence to say, hey, you know what, this happened and I don't know if that was right. Should he have done that? I never had those talks with my parents. Definitely keeping the line of communication open. Now, when you feel your child is drawing away, they probably are. So whether it's drugs, is it drinking, are they, is it a body image, is there problems at school? Me, I was bullied, I fought in school, and there was always a problem, but I never knew how to handle it. I just knew fighting was how to handle it, and having that mindset, I believe, brought me towards the direction that I was in. Had I had more guidance from my parents, it might have been different. So definitely teaching your kids, building that confidence in those little girls to where they know they are worth more. They know who God is. They know what to and not to do with their body. They know that it's wrong. Having these things told, it's completely different. And I know telling my kids now that it's going to be completely different for them, raising them as young girls.
Now, what about the child that's listening to this? What do you recommend for the child if they're facing a situation that's uncomfortable with their parents?
Definitely reach out to the person you feel you can tell, whether it's a teacher, an aunt. If it's me, go find me on Facebook. My name's Clarissa Thompson. You have to tell someone, and someone will relate it to your parents. Don't think about being in trouble, the pain, the agony you're going to cause. Don't think about that. Just think about you getting free and you being better, because your life is worth it all.
Clarissa, again, thank you very much for joining the program. You've got was it Facebook you said? A Facebook page and a Twitter?
Yeah, Facebook is Brandon_N_Clarissa_Thompson, and also at Instagram as well.
And some closing comments, some closing thoughts from you for listeners to walk away with. What would you like them to walk away with?
Find your voice. For the women, find your voice and take it back. Take it back with the power you have in you, and know that God is your Savior. You're already saved. There is no more shame, no more guilt. You are His child too.
Ladies and gentlemen, Clarissa Thompson.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.